DarylEves.com. DarylEves.com. hit pause. Turn off this stream.
DarylEves.com.
Hey everybody, Daryl Eves here. Now, we had a little bit of a technical glitch. I do apologize, but I am thankful for everybody that remained online. Now, before we get going, could you make sure that you tell me if there's sound or not? Because the sound kind of crapped out on us and we had to actually reboot our computer. So we do apologize from that. I wasn't hacked, but hopefully you're able to see that okay. Today we actually have some pretty interesting things that we need to discuss, and this is really important that this really affects all content creators on YouTube. It also affects new creators that are actually jumping onto YouTube and getting started right now. And it all has to do with this crisis that's going on with the YouTube boycott and then YouTube tightening down. They're actually doing the smackdown, the crackdown on a lot of content creators. Now, before we actually get started, I do want to tell you a couple things. The first thing is we actually have Super Chat enabled, and this is for individuals that's looking to give me a little tip. From there, to find it, you can go over to the live chat. There is a little icon there that's a dollar amount. You go ahead, select your dollar amount that you want to contribute for my channel and to put out some amazing content. Put your message in there and you will be featured. And there's a couple things that I do appreciate right now. There are content creators right now that just contributed. We had Ghost Ninja, Crazy Day Trippers, and Geeks Life. Thank you guys so much for contributing to this video and for my channel. Now, before we actually get going, my question to you and everyone that's watching this live, have you noticed a huge increase or decrease in your monetization? That's the money you're actually making. So go ahead and put that in the chat. I'd love to hear from you. And over the last couple, probably about a week or two, I've been getting a lot of messages from a lot of friends and acquaintances, and also people just reaching out that they've seen a huge decrease in their income that they're actually making day after day on YouTube. Their views are actually going up, but their monetization, their money that they're actually making is going down. And so a lot of people are literally worried about what's going on. The last two videos that I actually made on this channel talked about the root cause of the issue. And there are some things that are happening right now that YouTube's literally starting to put the crackdown on for content creators and having a little bit harsher hand than we're actually used to. Now, to join the conversation, go ahead and tweet it out. You can go to YouTube Crackdown as the hashtag, and we're literally pulling up comments right now to put on this live stream. So I'm glad that a lot of you have noticed this, and I know this is a big issue. This is a crisis at times. And sometimes we feel like we don't have control as content creators because YouTube's pretty much the only one that is providing a way for us to make money as content creators through a partner program. Now, there are other services out there like Facebook, and they are giving money to some select creators. I think I only know two that are actually doing it. There are other services like Amazon that are priming up, and I mean that in a pun, priming up to take on video in 2017 and 2018. And so YouTube's kind of like the only game. Twitch as well, where you can make money on your content. And so this is there's a lot of people that this is their livelihood, this is their business, and it's being affected. So let's talk about this real quick. And I want to talk about the ecosystem of YouTube. And I made a couple slides here so that we can really explain and understand this. But the YouTube ecosystem is really interesting, and it's something I discussed in an earlier video. but it has everything to do with 3 partners to YouTube. Now, this YouTube ecosystem's real, and if someone's out of balance, if any one of these are out of balance, then it really affects the ecosystem at YouTube. And that's what's happening right now. Like right now, that's what's happening. And right now, creators are making content and they're reliant on advertisers and also viewers so that they can actually support making more content. Now, what the hubbub's all about and what the issue's all about is advertisers. Advertisers have literally started to pull back on their ads because the Wall Street Journal has a full-on attack at YouTube. They really do. They really have a full-on attack at YouTube, and they literally contacted brands and businesses and says, hey, why is your ad showing up on hate content? Why is your ad showing up on ISIS content? Why is your stuff happening there? And then this, literally, the advertisers pull back. And they're pretty much saying, look, we're going to pull away our ad revenue until you fix things, YouTube. Literally, we want you to fix it right now. And so they withheld their money. YouTube started to scramble. And what happened was the reason why ads and CPMs go up is all upon inventory of the ads. And so as there's more ad inventory, your CPMs will go up because it has to compete, with other ads that are there. So that's why in April and May and June, you have heyday. July just stinks. And then August, September, October is really good. And then October, November, December is amazing because there's a lot more advertisers trying to advertise their message to different viewers. Now, going back to this slide, I think this is a really important concept for you to understand. This ecosystem's real, and right now, there's 2 partners out of balance, not the viewer, but the advertiser and the creator. Now, the advertiser's creating some strain on the creators, which in turn is really hurting the viewers down the road. Now, the thing about this is it's all about timing. It's literally all about timing. And, YouTube needs competition. They really do. Hopefully somebody will step up to do this. But right now, brands are really concerned of where their content lies. Now, we talked about this in depth on a video saying, look, most brands and ad buyers are lazy. They could literally place all their ads and it would be safe and it would be okay and there wouldn't be any issue. Now, there was a specific glitch. I do believe that's fixed now, where if there was a content ID, like someone claimed content, and then they'd put ads on it or claim the ads, that's kind of where it was broken, because if they were claiming it and then they could run kind of the premium ads, and that's why, Coca-Cola and the rest really started to say, hey, wait a minute, our ads on this very hateful content. So YouTube tried to scramble around and to adjust a couple things. Now, I spend a lot of times in AdWords because part of my business is where we actually work with brands and we work with businesses and help them get the visibility that they actually need online. And so we spend a lot of money on AdWords, I mean a lot. And we take time and adjust the campaigns. And you can place, you can tweak, and so on. However, there are 3 new options here to really help brands be a little bit more safe on YouTube. But 2, just a couple hours ago, about yesterday sometime, YouTube made this announcement. Let's go back to the slides. And I'm going to show you that they made this huge announcement saying that they're going to adjust a few things. And this is where it gets interesting, guys. This is where it starts to change the effect of YouTube and the ecosystem there. And it says, starting today, we will no longer serve ads on the YouTube Partner Program videos until the channel reached 10,000 lifetime views. This new threshold gives us enough information to determine the validity of the channel. Okay, 10,000 views. Now, I know a lot of you are freaking out and saying, oh my gosh, now we can't make any money on YouTube because until you make 10,000 views, you can't monetize. Well, I'm here to tell you that you're not even making money until you get in the hundreds of thousands and millions of views on YouTube. You're not really making a ton of money. And so that is the new standard that YouTube's operating under. But if we go back to the statement's really interesting. It says, this new threshold gives us enough information to determine the validity of a channel. The validity of the channel. What that means is this. It means that YouTube gathers enough information of where that traffic's actually coming from. And if anyone's starting to game the system by doing bots or buying views, that's where a lot of damage can happen. And they can literally start to ban channels. Now, I've seen a huge influx of channels being banned. And I was able to have a conversation this past week with 2 vice presidents at Google, and they were kind of talking about the hundreds of thousands of accounts that were shut down because they have some new tools to go out and find people that are doing malicious or creating accounts in a way of a bot and literally shutting them down. And so what YouTube needs is a way to validate, is that channel worth putting ads on? Well, here is the new threshold at 10,000. So I want to know what you guys think. Go ahead and put it in the comments below of what your thoughts are about this. And while you do this, I think it's a pretty big issue for all content creators, because we're going to need to make money elsewhere. And we're going to try to bring in income elsewhere. And I'm going to spend all next week and explain to you my plan to bring in money. But there are content creators right now that got totally delisted from their monetization. That means they weren't able to monetize their videos. And we're going to talk about that in a second. But let's talk about the 10,000 views. Is this realistic? Is this even feasible for YouTube to do? Is this something that's too harsh? Go ahead and put in the comments below. And let's see if we have any tweets out there. If you want to join in the conversation, just go ahead and tweet it out to Daryl Eves. Make sure you put my at Daryl Eves there. And then 2, use the hashtag YouTube Crisis. And once those tweets come in, we'll kind of put them on the screen live. You can see you interact with that. And we will get to the point where we bring in live chat and deal with that. But there's a lot of people really upset right now that YouTube's going way too far. They're frustrated. They feel like they're turning their back. But this ecosystem's real, and they got to do something for the advertisers, or the advertisers will continue to ask for a discount, and they're going to find ways to have creators make less money. Now, the biggest misconception that's out there for content creators, I want to explain to you this, and just the general public, is that YouTube's making hand over and fist, making a ton of money, and they're not. Just a couple years ago, they weren't even profitable at all. They were losing money time and time and time again. And they're trying to bring in more money, bring in more initiatives so that people will actually spend money on YouTube. Content creators can make content and go from there. And I think the game changer for YouTube personally is YouTube TV. I think that's a way to bring an influx of cash in and not really have to have advertising on it. And it brings in some really net positive income. So what do you think, guys? Let's go ahead and read some of the comments. There's a lot of people that really, really, really upset. They're saying, man, this is too harsh by YouTube. We have Jacob. Jacob Flack says it's fair. And also, a lot of people says, man, it's just way too much that's there. Now, I do appreciate YouTube trying to fix the issue. I really do, because right now there are content creators losing a lot of money, and some of them lost a complete business, and we're going to talk about that. So let's jump back into the slides itself, and I want to explain what's going on too, because if you guys haven't checked out the community guidelines and the advertisers' policies, it has updated. It literally is updated, and it's at a place where it's getting really interesting, and there's new guidelines that we need to all to adhere to. Unless we do, we lose out on that money, and they'll just demonetize us. They continue to explain that this also allows them to confirm that our channel is following community guidelines and advertisers' policies. So in the 10,000 range, it literally helps them figure out if they're valid, if it's a real site, or if they're connecting with their community guidelines and advertiser policies. And some of that's changed drastically, guys. Really drastically. And let's kind of break down and see what happened on YouTube of what's going on. Now, YouTube literally is going to do a couple things. They are going to crack down on the content that they consider inappropriate. Now, a lot of people think that this has everything to do with the free speech and so on and so forth, but they do need to give advertisers control of what kind of content that they need to go on. So it's kind of a weird balance. But right now, YouTube states this, and this is some of the things that they changed a little bit. Content that is considered inappropriate for advertising, okay? And this includes, but not limited to. I love the legal jargon. Their big attorneys were writing this, but sexually suggestive content, including partial nudity and sexual humor. So you can't get advertising if you're for that. Also violence, including display of serious injury and the event relating to violent extremists. That's really interesting. I wonder how that's going to play for gamers, the gameplay. Is that going to affect Grand Theft Auto? I mean, come on. Inappropriate language, including harassment, profanity, vulgar language. So if you swear, I guess. I don't know. I really don't know on that one. Promotion of drug-related substance, including selling, using, abusing of such item. And then also, this is the one where most of the channels get demonetized, is because of this next one. Controversial or sensitive subjects and events, including subjects related to war, political conflicts, natural disasters, and tragedy, and graphic imagery is not shown. Wow. I think that last one, I'm a little nervous about that, because here I know there are literally a lot of YouTubers that report the news. Now they can't even make any money. I mean, they're always talking about sensitive information. They literally can't make money now because YouTube says, look, if you're talking about sensitive things, we don't want to advertise on you. We don't want to make sure the brands are able to advertise. Now, this right here is ridiculous. It's ridiculous because there's advertisers that want to advertise on those type of content creators. I really do believe this, YouTube. I do. I think that this is something that is needed. And it's a really simple fix. It's a simple fix. It's basically saying when someone's serving an ad, you got your brand safe stuff and all that other stuff. But we can say these are news agencies. These are people reporting sensitive issues like war, women's rights. I mean, if they're talking about sex slavery, their video could be taken down. I mean, not taken down, but their advertising would be taken off of that when they're talking about a very important subject and how to address it. I mean, literally, they're not going to make any money on that. And they can't report it as the news. And so is this going to transform the dynamic of YouTube? Are content creators not going to report things that are relevant because they're not going to make any money off of ads? Man, the system is getting really weird, and I'm really concerned just with that last thing, the controversial, because I truly believe that people should be able to state things and make a change, and especially dealing with war. I mean, we got stuff going on in the world today that is ridiculous, and we need to stand together and stop a lot of this stuff. And there's a lot of agencies that need to report this, and now they can't even make money on it. So that's kind of where things are at. I want to jump back into this because it gets a little bit more interesting here, because we want to talk about what YouTube content, how YouTube actually checks the content. Now there's three excuse me, there's 3 different types of ways. Now, the first one is automatic checks. So here's an important thing that you need to keep in remembering when you go and put your content out there. First off, it's basically saying, look, we're gonna look automatically at the features of the video, like the title. If the title has controversial, sensitive, verbiage in there, we're literally gonna strip that out. We're literally going to pull advertisers off of that. However, to make it approved, you know what? Maybe you need to make sure you have a good title that isn't sensitive information or meta information. But also they have a visual imagery system where they're able to see what images are actually being displayed on there. And 2, they have another method, which is community flags. So this kind of got a little big of a hubbub of upset people saying, hey, there's monitors out there, people that were, YouTube heroes that were literally flagging down content and checking if content and reviewing content was approved or not. That was a very big deal. And this is something that is literally an issue, because now you have human validations, but that human could say, do you know what, I disagree with what they're saying, and so this is what we're going to do. We're going to pull the content off of there as well. And so you have human review, which is kind of weird, especially when there's no set standard. The last one is advertiser control, and this is something that YouTube has been pushing for quite some time, but advertisers are lazy, and they don't go through, advertisers and ad buyers are lazy, and they don't go through the process of getting everything set up from there. So, wow, first off, wow. That's all I have to say is it would be very easily solved if YouTube would allow 2 options. Brands to pick, to say, you know what, we want to advertise, we want to support news channels, we want to be able to add, we don't care about brand safe content, let us advertise. And they could select a button and then it can go out to the rest of the world. That's a very easy solution. And 2, I can totally see a lot of brands wanting to do that because, you know what, maybe they do want to make a stand. There are a lot of foundations that advertise, to promote their agenda and promote things that are going on, and they do want to cover some of the sensitive information, and so they do want to support the people that are reporting that. And so that's a very easy fix, YouTube. That's something that you can do right now. I don't think it would take longer than a day or 2 to implement across your system. You just have to, divert resources to make it happen. I don't know, guys. What do you think? I mean, is this something that's crazy? Is it something that is affecting us as content creators right now? I think it is. And I think that as content creators, we need to look at options to diversify our income coming in. And I'm going to spend all next week to talk about that. And I think there's ways to do that. 2, we need to put in kind of a plan of attack of how to go on other platforms and monetize in different ways as well. I think is a very, very crucial thing. Let's go ahead and I want to do a couple shout outs to our super chat. Now I don't have it available. We actually crashed the system, so I can't really show my screen on this. Oh, maybe I can. Maybe I can pull it over. Let me try something real quick. There might be a way that I can do this. Does that work? Oh yeah. So I can readjust this a little bit. Give me 1 second, guys. This is something that you're not seeing, but I'm seeing, and we are close to doing this. Okay, we got a couple people that contributed to Super Chat. I want to kind of give them some thanks for sponsoring this video. So let's go ahead and show that screen there. We have Ghost Ninja. Thank you so much for sponsoring this video. Crazy Day, Tripper, Geeks Life, Train Your Czar, fun, thank you. Everyday Tech, Love with Newborns. Also, I need to adjust my screen. This is kind of weird, but I'll have to kind of go up like that. These are people that in Super Chat gave some money to us to make this video possible. And I really appreciate it. I'm going to appreciate more and more of that as we discuss what's happening next week too. But Webhead, Farah Reeds, the driver mic, Nikki, and we have RVTV. That is impossible. Brandon and @Reef. Hopefully you can see the @Reef. Let me make sure that it's in there. Very good. Did I miss anybody? All right, all right, guys. Thank you so much for coming on and supporting this channel this way. And there's a lot of things that are happening, guys. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide here, and I think this is really important. That there are some things happening that I was concerned with, and when I actually had this conversation with the YouTube VPs, I'm like, well, what happens when it is sensitive content, but it doesn't go overboard and it's not flagged? If it's restricted, like if we restrict the video itself, is it going to be monetized or not? Because there are some channels that go through it, says, hey, this is restricted. It's a little bit different type of information. And is that going to be demonetized? And they said, well, the video's ability in restricted mode does not affect its ability to be monetized. But how do we actually know that? I'm still baffled here. How do we actually know that if that actually occurs? Because, we just said a little bit earlier that, there are some sensitive things that you're addressing, and you could lose advertising revenue for that, for sure. And so that's something we got to definitely look at. What do you guys think on this? Is this something that you're concerned with? Is this something that that you're like, okay, that doesn't make any sense? Because, hey, what if I actually put it restricted, but it's not going over the line? How do we know if it's going to make content or not? And right now, what you can do to see if you actually have any restricted content that's out there, or you're not getting any monetization, basically what you do is look in your channel creator studio. Come on, I like teach YouTube, and I couldn't even think of what the name was. You go to creator studio and then into video manager. And basically you have a little green icon explaining that you're actually making money on it. If it is yellow, that means someone at YouTube or the automated system or someone flagged it, or advertisers didn't want it. Basically it's saying, you know what? We're not going to serve ads to this video. Okay, that's kind of a big deal, so go ahead and look through it. I know a lot of content creators that talk about sensitive subject literally lost all the monetization on their channel, and they went from about $100,000 a month of income down to not even like $100. And so it's kind of getting really, really, really scary here for this. So go see if you are restricted. Make sure that you check that out. I will have some videos on that as well of what you can do to dispute that, to fight that, to work with YouTube to get it happen. Because a lot of the cases is, hey, let's review this because this falls within your guidelines. Okay, going back to the next statement that YouTube made, and it's really interesting. It says, look, we've trained systems that automatically check the features of the videos, like video title, metadata, visual imagery, and decide how appropriate the video is and is for general advertising. Now, one thing that I want to let you know is I've had this happen to me. I literally have. Not on this channel, but other type of content that I'm putting out there. And there is a process to be approved, and the bigger you are, the faster you get approved. That's kind of the way it is. But the system needs to improve here. And right now, YouTube has made an update to this. So be seeing a video on this of how to actually go through that approval process and what you need to do and how you're able to connect with YouTube and how fast the process really is. Because honestly, they improved it a little bit. I tested it out today. But there is still some issues that they're facing, and I don't know if you guys cruise YouTube quite a bit, but some of their systems they're updating very fast, and it's breaking some of the code and such. But it is up to date, and we're able to check that out. So moving on to the next one, this is something that I think we all need to keep in mind, and this is something we talked about, but depending on the nature of the policy violation, videos can be removed from the site. So they can actually remove content from YouTube depending on the nature policy. Now that's happened before with some hate speech and different things like that, or age restricted content. Monetization is disabled on age restricted videos and Google will immediately stop serving ad to those. Now, what's really interesting, they said, wait a minute, if it's restricted, they will serve ads. If it is restricted, they'll serve ads. I mean, that's what they said earlier, and you can go into their blog, and that's basically what they said. But now they're saying, look, if it's age restricted, so there's a difference between age restricted and automatically restricted videos. You know, so there is a kind of an issue here saying, okay, we will stop if it's age restricted, but if it's restricted through our automatically checked, you can still get monetization. How does that all work? Well, that was the conversation that I wanted to have with these two YouTube employees and VPs. And honestly, the system's pretty robust. It is really smart, and it has everything to do with Content ID. And I want to kind of explain, this is what I kind of explain of why, ads are being served. But when you actually upload a YouTube video, there's a lot of things that actually happen and run in the background that you have no idea. And you see it being processed. Well, it's already processed. It's just going through some checks and balances as it's going through. It goes through an automated system, first off, to validate the title, make sure the meta information's there, and tags to figure out where that video is going to go and how it's going to be placed. But it also goes through a checking structure of what type of video it is and if it's potentially harmful or not. Does it have some of the words that you're not supposed to use, like the N-word or anything like that, in the title or in the meta information? It also does a transcription where it auto-transcribes everything, and then that too, is being flagged. And once it's up, basically, YouTube is then checking its content against all the content owners out there to see if it's duplicate content. Now, keep in mind, if you're a small YouTuber, this won't work for you. You actually manually have to find all the YouTube videos that were uploaded on someone stole your content and put it up there. You have to manually find it and manually report it. But there is a system called the CMS that there are companies that have music labels, bigger YouTubers, and they can actually claim the content that's out there, and they can do it automatically. So once the content's updated based on the rules that creator has or the brand actually has in the CMS will depend on how much, if they have a takedown notice or if they charge advertising or what have you. Well, this is the interesting thing. So now it looks like they've added a few features. They've added a few features that really affects YouTube. And they've added features in the CMS so that they're adding more automation to this. And they also have been hearing from advertisers and brands about cramping down. They're hiring a lot of new YouTube employees and getting other volunteers to help out as well. Now, lastly on this little statement, that there are some best practices that YouTube put out there, which is really interesting. They're very vague in some aspects, but you know what? It's going to be interesting. It's going to be an interesting next couple months. But this is some of the things that's just updated for YouTube creators when they updated their policy. But it's saying, look, here are some best practices for creating advertiser-friendly content. So if you want to create advertiser-friendly content, there are ways that you can actually create content that it won't get flagged and won't put down. Now, a lot of you can follow these guidelines, but do follow YouTube's policy guidelines. So if you ever click on that, go over there, read through that policy. It is long. It's crazy. It changes. I don't even get a notification when it changes. I literally check it at least every other week to see if there's any modifications to it. It's crazy. But it says also do titles and thumbnails for your video that represents the content. So you can't have content that in a title or thumbnail that doesn't represent your video. Do create content that appeals to brands and advertisers that engage with your content. Wow. That's why we need crowdfunding. We're going to take all next week because honestly, that's pretty interesting. Next one, don't use explicit language or imagery in your title or thumbnail. So don't use the inappropriate words that are there. And then don't embed promotions of your sponsor's video because that can create an advertiser conflict. And that's real. So now, I really would love to hear your thoughts. Is this literally discouraging you from putting up content on YouTube? Go ahead and put it in the chat. We got a few people here that are really disappointed of what's going on. A few other individuals that have been losing money. Some are good friends of mine too. It's just like, man, we're creating good content, but we're losing out because of all this issue. So man, that's really, as the Two Real Chick says, it's really disheartening. It's sad. It's sad to see a lot of this stuff happening. So what can we do to change? I truly believe that there are tools, there are resources, there are abilities for us to help modify this. We need to remember the ecosystem, though, of YouTube, because YouTube needs to keep everyone happy and in balance, not just content creators, which content creators are basically the ones that are the loudest, but they really pay more attention to advertisers because advertisers are ones that are paying the creators to create content. They're putting their ads on there, and the viewers are clicking on it and supporting the advertisers. And so that's something that they're really, really concerned with on that. But I truly believe that there are some things that are happening on YouTube, and let me pull in this real quick, that can really benefit us as content creators. And, we got to just kind of change the system. We got to change the way that we actually make money on YouTube. Now, I've never really made a ton of money on YouTube. I did it for other ways. I had to make money other ways, like through consultations and, furthering my brand. But ad revenue, no. I mean, I didn't even make enough to make it worth it. But for me, things are going to change, and I'm going to introduce a couple things this next week that can help everyone. And it's something that I think we all need to do. We all need to rally together and really support each other through putting out great content. And then what I am vowing to do is to teach you guys how to really make money outside of ad revenue for your YouTube channels. We've had some very small channels that made a ton of money through other resources with a very small audience. And so they can take a small audience and they're able to support themselves and create a business and go from there. And it's completely independent from an advertising placing ads on YouTube. Now, I want to put a special thanks, and then we're going to open it up to a couple questions here. But let's go ahead and roll it over to Super Chat. These are the people that have donated money right now for this video coming out to you. And I really do appreciate the money that's contributed here. We've had some others that we talked about before, but we have Mike, and we have Toxic Diesel and Sparky and 4EG Boss. And the list goes on. Freight Train, that Frudge. Okay, we have some really good stuff, and I really do appreciate everyone that has contributed to this. So let's go ahead and go back, and I'm gonna literally pull in some questions here, and I think the big thing is this a YouTube crisis? Well, here's what's going on. I mean, PewDiePie just literally said, just as of late, that he's going to actually start putting some content on Twitch. And he had a plan for that. And there's some content that he makes no money on. He basically showed his account, and it was like $100. And he had millions of views on it. And so I truly believe that there are some interesting ways to generate revenue, but we also need to diversify. I'm going to tell you something that I truly believe is going to happen, and I've been saying this for a while, but things are starting to prime up here, and it has everything to do with Amazon. I think Amazon is the dark horse in the race, and I think Amazon has the power and the ability to bring the money in, because they are a powerhouse, and it's going to be amazing what you're able to see and do with Amazon. And I think that's going to be a complete alternative if they can literally put the plans together that they've been talking about for years. And I think they're making step forward. So this next week, I'm going to share a video with you of what Amazon is doing right now to change the ecosystem with content creators and making money. And it's outside of their affiliate program, guys. It's really exciting. That comes out to you next week. But this is something that we need to do. So let's kind of jump in, and I'm going to look at some of the questions. So if you have questions, put it in there. If you want to have some comments, also, you can tweet out. We got the hashtag there, and that, we'll pick a few tweets to feature there as well. Alrighty. There is a lot of people that really are concerned. Wow. So this one right here comes from a super chat, and the Teven Show. It says Google and YouTube uses voice recognition during live streams for bad words and determine the monetization. And it's true. I'm here to tell you that they do. There is the automated system that tries to figure out what you're saying in the stream itself, and you could have monetization shut off like that in your broadcast. But two, advertisers have the ability to go in and hit one little checkbox that says, look, I don't want my content to show up in a live stream, because there is the variable of that delay. So the ad can still show up until they get flagged or whatever. But advertisers say, hey, look, I want control. I don't want it to be on a live stream, which I would recommend most advertisers to do is, look, if you're worried about it, click that, because you don't know what you're going to get with live stream. Okay, very good. Thank you. Appreciate you for the super chat, my friend. Let's go ahead, and I think Geeks Life had a really good comment. It's just scrolling pretty fast, guys, but yeah, Geeks Life was talking about PewDiePie, and the PewDiePie actually had an all-out war with the Wall Street Journal. Wait, stop that. Reverse it. The Wall Street Journal had an all-out war with PewDiePie, and PewDiePie kind of told them, hey, you can't get me type thing. And I don't know if there's a vendetta or what, but I think they're really trying to stir the pot. And honestly, I am disappointed, in Wall Street Journal and, creating an issue that wasn't necessarily there, or wasn't, they made it bigger than what it really is, and it causes a lot of money loss. And so personally, you lost my business, my friend. I guess we weren't friends. You lost my business, Wall Street Journal. But anyway, let's see. We got some more questions here. So Marnie's Garden says, hey, Amazon is taking the step forward. They're actually making video content. You can have a video channel, and you can put content on that video channel, which is true. They are having some stuff that happened there, but I want everyone to realize a couple things, and most people don't understand this. But number one, Twitch is owned by Amazon. Think about that for 1 second. They purchased a few years ago, and YouTube tried to buy it, Google tried to buy it, and they went with Amazon for a reason. Why? Number one, Amazon agreed to keep the ecosystem of Twitch the way that it is. But two, Amazon now has some data and also platform information that they can to put out a system, a service pretty easly. So this shirt might switch from a YouTube shirt to an Amazon shirt, because I do have an Amazon shirt, I think. I don't know. All right. Moving on to a couple other questions here. Man, there is a lot of concern with money and making money. So I'm definitely going to spend the time and go through this where we can actually make videos that would be, helping you make more money on YouTube outside of ad revenue. I think that's kind of the big thing. So guys, I want to thank you so much for coming on. This is a live video. I do appreciate your patience. When we had the technical issue, we did get the audio fixed after we rebooted the computer, but thank you so much for coming on. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, go ahead and hit subscribe. I have a lot of new content coming out from next week forward. You're gonna see a shift in the channel. I've been talking about it for quite some time. The shift is about to change. You're able to see that. and I'm going to explain my plan. So please look forward to the video on Monday. That is the big announcement, and we're going to go in depth on how you're going to get better content, better service from me, and make more money on YouTube. Guys, thank you so much, and have an effective, wonderful